launched the National Energy Transition Roadmap. So we only have about 20 minutes, so let's just keep the session tight. Keep your questions on the roadmap.
We have taken a slightly different approach when it comes to policy rollout. We wanted to balance between building the momentum and completing the full picture. And that's why today we launched the first part of NETR because in our assessment, it is important to get the excitement and the buy-in, especially from the industry players first, and to bring the attention to Malaysia's ambition. And within a month, we will roll out the second part of NETR. The focus is basically on large-scale housing development first. That's why we work with Sime Darby Properties because it is something that can be pulled off commercially by large-scale township without government's funding. Medium and high-end properties, usually the buyers would want to have solar. I mean, there's already a buy-in. It's just that the process now is the application for quota has to be made individually. So it becomes quite restrictive for property developers, large-scale property developers like Sime Darby and I hope the others, because they can't package the whole thing as part and parcels of the house. Basically, the best thing that they can do is that we will be able to install solar, but we have to wait for you to apply first, and then you come back to me and talk. So what we want to focus in the early parts is to allow more and more of such integrated large-scale urban development to include solar in their whole pricing package, individual rooftop. I think that will come as and when the single market aggregator becomes operational.
If you look in certain states in Australia, in Germany, rooftop solar has even surpassed those installations. So I think that's where we see now in Malaysia we haven't really tapped, because when you talk about large-scale solar, there are certain limitations of land size and the cost of land.
Pioneer one that's going to be done will be at with Sime Darby, will be at Elmina and Bandar Bukit Raja. So that one is up to 10 kilowatt solar capacity per house. So it's 4.5 megawatts across 450 homes. That's the pilot lah.
We set the ambition because the energy target for 2050 is very much tied to our net zero commitment. And that is part of the national energy policy, which is binding to the government. Everything else has to be adjusted to achieve that. So when we push the target from 40% to 70%, it will filter through over the years, and it will govern how Energy Commission decides what kind of capacity can be allowed to be installed. You know. The problem is, if you look at, for example, today's announcements with Khazanah Intramas, is 1 gigawatt. And 1 gigawatt is huge compared to the largest capacity that we have now, which is around 70 megawatt. I think that's easily about 15 times of the size, you know. So we have to go through this stage of seeing how the market responds to NETR, because that will allow us a much better assessment of the supply and demand. So that's why, you know, if the price is asking what is going, I think we take the bold step of pitching that we want to lead the energy transition. And that will spur the supply and demand, and that will allow us to be able to map the planning and the numbers better for 5, 10, 15 years.